Constant priorities, long-range budgeting, capital improvement planning, road paving. Want to handle that somehow?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think
Because I think we've been jumping in.
Talk a lot about
that. This, I don't think it was necessarily the intent to touch on every one of them, but just to recognize in general with this particular agenda topic that over the past day and a half, gone over a lot, received a lot of information, and covered a tremendous amount of work. But to the point that I've been noting through each one of them, as you all have been discussing priorities. And as I told the mayor, my thought was I could summarize all of this with to include a list of all the priorities. But I think at which point there needs to be some discussion on and a consensus from you all on what those are as we move forward. And the essence of time, I don't know how in depth you want to get into that today or for a future, for next month's meeting.
If you're going to go through that exercise, at least me personally, I'd rather have you go through the exercise and get a response from us to a certain extent. We can feed what you produce anyway.
Okay. I just want to make sure I have direct.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah, do we have a capital plan beyond the utility section? Do we have anything laid out that says this is what we expect to spend for the next 5 years?
We've got the exactly. Okay. Yeah. One, we've got our financial modeling plan.
Okay.
That Zach has, and
We're waiting to complete the utility CIP, use that as a model.
Okay.
Continue, we've already started
And then add
adding
on the other
numbers,
side.
and we're just gonna add a nice number. Page.
Okay, cool.
if you get real grasp with that.
That makes sense. Okay.
Because the model right now just looks at historical and adds an
Okay.
inflation factor, right? So it's not tied.
Because it's not a very, it's it's not a steady state at all. You might have a year where you don't spend anything, just do roads, and that doesn't mean we ought to be spending the same amount every year just to be low. But gotta do what we do.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I have the consensus of council as a whole. Once I get this together to you all wrapped up, as far as how we're going to move forward. Some of it I have a good sense by the conversations that have occurred as to the consensus, but there might be a few others that perhaps there may not be that ideally might need a future vote on it. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, kind of a request out to, because I'm big on throwing things out and seeing what kind of reaction I get. I think as Chris puts this out, a reaction of thanks is an almost, if that's the case, that's great. But throwing things out and not getting responses, did they get it? I don't know if they got it or not. I think it's critical just as a general point.
It's hard because, we are sort of constricted by the rules of.
Yeah, but I think just acknowledging that, the information got to me.
Sure.
I have no comment.
Can do that.
Yeah. I have one other thing that I wanted to,
Hey, Peter, just before you go to one other thing, I thought I heard Slaughter say, do we have a capital plan document? And I don't believe I heard a response to that.
They're working on that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think what you heard, Jesse, was we're waiting on the asset inventory information to inform the utility model, and then JP is going to apply it more broadly than the utility model. But Zach has done some financial planning modeling on it, but that's more based on just what historicals were plus, inflation factor. So
And that's beyond just the utility.
That's
That's beyond the utility. That includes like the road
Yes.
paving,
Yes.
the other. Okay, thank you.
I was to say, Peter, I'm appreciative of people putting out ideas for where we could do things, because you know, if we just all sit there and think, well, there's no point in talking about it because we can't afford it or because nobody wants it. That's not right. I mean,
Yeah.
we ought to be talking about, put all these things on the list. No matter how crazy they are, just let's get them listed. Because some people may look at them and say, wow, that's a great idea. Never thought about it.
So I agree. What's the right way to get those on there though? Because, you know, we've touched on one today. I think we surveyed people the right way. Parking would be way above any of these.
Probably so.
And we're not putting any calories into coming up with an estimate, like what would it cost for us to buy some land or put in parking or something like that, you know? So I want to make sure all the options, you know, the bike trails, the greenway, if we're not gonna do it, just say, hey, this is what it was. It's not, or, you know, as a Maslow's hierarchy, it's much lower than some of these other things. But when I really hear, you know, from people, you know, we heard a lot about park maintenance. We need to think about that, right? And keeping existing stuff, you know, up to snuff. We used to hear about the bridge. I think we've kind of tackled the bridge with that capital, you know, reserve a little bit. Hear a ton about parking. Again, not sexy, but it's real, especially if we're not going to own that circle lot. It's going to impact everybody here dramatically, and everybody can't wait 7 years to get a spot in the, I guess, Willie's new lot or whatever. Right. So those things need to be on there. You know, we still get a lot, I do anyways, and maybe I still get a lot of feedback about walking trails and finishing the Mitchell walking trail or whatever and doing that. Right. But I still get feedback from people that are frustrated. Remember, we got rid of the benches at one point. Remember, we used to have benches all around the island and we were like, it was expensive to maintain them. Right. Well, I mean, on a relative basis, like, no, I mean, they're benches. They weren't nearly as much, right? Now, again, I'm not advocating for any of these. I'm just saying these are the things that I'm hearing from folks that didn't make it to the list, right? So when we say we'll look at the whole list, I want to get all of those in there, even the unsexy ones, right? And then we'll make the.
I mean, we've had them in there, and I've provided maybe, you know, you all know historical information to set context on the greenway system, the trails, and the fact of the matter is we've had numerous studies done that have all indicated that it's just not feasible, not unless you're going to take property and cut trees down. And that's not something that people are willing to accept.
I had a conversation with somebody last night about that. I was like, well, if you want a trail, we can take the median on Federal. We can cut the whole median down, put a bike path all the way down
Right.
Federal to the beach.
That's an example.
People want that. I don't know. Somebody probably would say great, but
I mean, and the fact
a
some
lot
of
of
it,
people would probably say,
well, you know, some of it is going to have to, at the end of the day, still going to be on the main road.
right.
There's some areas, Wood Duck Trail, Pintail Court, that have recorded rights of way for pedestrian access that the NIMBY complex sets in, and those people that live beside it are not going to want it.
Yeah.
So it, you know, we've had these things for quite some time.
Yeah, I just want to bring them to a head and say, we're tackling them now, or we're deferring them, or we're not doing it at all. And I know the Greenway one, for instance, is tough, right? It's one of those, you know, not my backyard, but they bought property with deed restrictions on it that said it could go there, right? So just the fact that somebody doesn't like it later, this is kind of like back to the buying the small lots or whatever, you know, like, you know, you bought it with it, and, you know, and I don't say that to be, you know, unsympathetic to somebody, you know, but I get it. But, you know, that's there, and there's a desire for that.
But I'd also like y'all to consider, you know, recognize that as small of an organization as we are in administration and all the day-to-day operation things that we're doing, that it's challenging to, you know, we have a lot going on. There's a lot of things we talked about, and, you know, with prioritization, you know, we're not going to be able to tackle all of this. So, like,
I think that's one thing, you know, that going through everything, there was nothing in there where I said, gosh, you know, we provide way too much service here. We need to cut all that and save some money. I never, that thought really has never crossed my mind. And in fact, if anything, you know, we try to be more efficient in certain ways, and we end up cutting some things. And, you know, I think we need to be aware that while it might affect people, it's the right thing to do.
and that's
Trash is a great thing.
And that's not uncommon in smaller municipal governments.
Makes perfect
Not the
sense.
big city of Wilmington with
Right.
300, 400, 500 employees that many of us are wearing at least a half a dozen or a dozen hats. So.
Yeah. And I think most people in the village, most people that are residents here, if we said, look, we need to raise the budget by 6% every year so we can pay our staff to do the jobs they do, I think most people are 100% in favor of that. I won't say everybody, but you know, people understand that. They also understand that it's a difficult place to work and it's not going to get easier. You know, if there's stuff we can do that makes that job, makes working here easier, that affects all of the residents here. And I think people are starting to realize that more than they did. Chad sits in a meeting with me and says, you know, all the employees used to have to get on last on the ferries. And I'm like, well, this year we'd like for all the employees to get on first on the ferries.
Yes.
Sorry.
I had one more comment about retreat. So yesterday, the parade of people that came through, I got a message from Jesse this morning, you know, his reaction to some of it. And I think that there's two things I want to make a comment about. One is they work for us. They're our consultants, whether we're using grant money to pay them or not. We should be critical about what we're getting.
Mhm.
And if we're not getting what we're expecting we're getting, let's get it on paper and make sure that it's in Chris's hands so that it gets on an agenda and we can look at it as like, that wasn't the answer at all. The other thing that's harder for that type of evaluation is there are things that, you know, I was really disappointed in a couple of the presentations personally. I think they were some of the answers were not, they were inconsistent and you know, it was problematic. One of the problems with presentations like this and the Chris Creed and his crew, the coastal engineering, those are people that work very closely with us. And I think a lot of times somebody comes in and starts making a presentation. They're on the third chapter and we're on the first chapter, you know, and so there's things like that that you might look at and still want the criticism, but you might be looking at something that's, boy, that didn't, you know, I don't understand why they're doing all that. And the reality might be that they're doing all that because we've been meeting with them for 5 months and we told them to do that, you know. So I want you to just know that there's two sides to that. But the criticism is critical. I think if we could get that, those people need to hear it from us.
So Peter, just to come out in the open, so what Peter references, I wrote him a little note last night because I'm in transit today. I'm about to turn into a voice only here. But what I did was rather than having 10 people come at Chris, I thought Peter just coming through you and then you could assess.
Fine.
Yeah, because some stuff you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, Chris has enough going on day to day. Come through me and I'll set up a meeting with Chris and make sure that he's up on everything.
Right. And then you can call out where I'm wrong, you know, where I just don't know what precedent stuff. So, but that's and that's how I'm Chris, I love you. I'll talk to you all the time and stuff, but I just think that it's a lot easier for you to get direction from one place.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. So you can direct that to me. Okay. If anything else we need to cover here?
So,
Darcy, do we need to have some statement that says we're going into
Nope,
a
we're
council?
gonna adjourn this meeting.
We're going to adjourn this meeting?
Yep.
Okay, could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye.